Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Tiffany with Match a Resident. I'm the Director of Communications, and today we're going to be talking about communications, actually, all the different questions and comments that you guys send in to us, as well as different types of comments that we've seen kind of across the web on different social media platforms. We think that everybody can learn from some of these questions and comments that we've been coming across, and we're excited to share them with you today. I'm joined by Zeph, our Chief Residency Advisor. Welcome, Zeph.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. And I'm very excited to dive into some of these questions and comments made from the IMG community across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started.
Perfect.
And we're going to share with everybody today the actual comments from the web. So here's our first one. We're going to make sure that everybody can see it. So this one came from Reddit, which is a really popular platform for IMGs asking questions and sharing tips and advice. And when I came across this, I just really loved the positivity, and it really reinforces this idea about letters of interest. So the Reddit user wrote, "Letters of interest work. I'm applying to OBGYN, so I've been sending out letters of interest like crazy, and I just sent one out to the program director of a program here in Texas. He replied with an email saying that he'll put me on the wait list, so to stay tuned. 3 weeks later, I got an email saying that the program director reviewed my application and offered me an interview. So honestly, send them out, but make them personal and really demonstrate your interest in their program. P.S. All of you asking about grades and research and USCE are really missing the point. Programs were bombarded with apps this cycle, and a lot slipped through the cracks. All you can do now is send out LOI and pray that the right person gets to see your app." So really great advice. What did you think about this, Seth?
Yeah, it's amazing that this person was able to get that interview. Like we always say, it only takes one interview to match. And they were completely right in saying that you really need to take the time to tailor the letter of interest. It's just like practicing for interviews where you need to learn about the program, learn the ins and outs, learn the special features, the research that's happening at that program or at the institution, learn about the faculty and maybe some special training tracks that are available, and be able to put those details into the letters of interest so that they see you've taken the time to learn about that program, that you have a genuine vested interest in potentially training there. And we hear it time and time again where you're sending these letters of interest and they work. So this is amazing. It's reinforcing that idea and reinforcing the idea that you need to send very specified letters of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody who's watching, if you have questions about letters of interest or any of the other topics that we covered today, you can drop them in the comments. We're going to be reviewing your questions and we will definitely respond to them so that we can help you even further if you've got a specific question. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And this particular comment came from Twitter, and the Twitter user said, "If you need more interviews, send out that LOI, letter of interest. Sent out LOI yesterday, got internal medicine interview today, scheduled and set, so send out those emails." So just another comment that's reinforcing letters of interest work. They do take some time and effort in order to create them in the way that they need to be, really specific to the program, like Zeph was talking about. But clearly, we're seeing some evidence here that the time and effort that you spend in creating those well-crafted LOIs is worth it because they are resulting in interviews for IMGs.
Yes, and if you need help learning about how to write a letter of interest, we have a full guide, multiple guides at residencyexperts.com. We also help with editing the letters of interest once you've actually written them, based on the tips and instructions that we provide through our resources sections, our blogs. So again, Residency Experts is a great place to go to get help making sure your letters of interest are well written, that they're specific, tailored, and going to be more effective for you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our next comment. And this is actually an email that we received in our Match a Resident inbox. And this IMG was asking a question regarding emailing the program director. So he wrote, "Hi, this is a question regarding emailing hospitals. Should I reach out to hospitals that I have not heard from and express my interest? Thank you." So obviously, I think after looking at the first two comments, the answer is a resounding yes. Absolutely, you should be sending out those letters of interest to programs that you have not yet heard from. We think that this is a great way to make that second connection with the program in addition to your application, and it definitely can get the attention that you want.
Yeah, and don't think about sending them to every single program that you apply to, because an effective letter of interest takes time. And what we would recommend is picking 10 to 20 programs that you can send strong letters of interest to. If you have time to send the letters to more programs, then you can. But at the end of the day, there's probably about 20 programs that you're 100% sure that you're extremely interested in. And that's interest and enthusiasm is going to come off more genuinely for programs that you truly are, that you desire to train at.
Absolutely. So let's go on to the next comments. So we're sticking with our theme right now of letters of interest. We are going to move on to additional topics in just a moment. This is another email that came into our inbox, and they wrote, "Hello, MAR team. I sent my top programs letters of interest a month back. I haven't heard from many until now. Would it be a good idea to send them another letter of interest? Should I repeat the same reasons why I want to train at the program? Or should I mention that I sent a letter earlier and am truly interested in their program? Or could this be perceived as annoying? I would really appreciate your input. Thank you sincerely." So this is an interesting question in terms of following up on the letter of interest. The initial letter of interest is kind of already a follow-up on your application. So if you haven't heard back after that letter of interest, it's probably pretty common to wonder if you need to reach out again. The answer is that you can reach out again to the programs that you sent a letter of interest to, but you should not send a second letter of interest. Instead, you should send a very brief follow-up, just reiterating your genuine interest in the program. Remind them that you have in fact sent a more detailed letter of interest and that you sincerely hope to hear back from them to have the opportunity to interview. So at most, maybe 5 sentences, just a very brief, quick email that they can read easily.
Exactly. And there's a fine balance that residency applicants have to play every year, which is getting the attention, but also not being overbearing or annoying to residency programs. And so, spamming them with the same exact letter of interest over and over again, of course, is probably not going to lend well for you. But, you can just follow up almost on that same email, if you'd like to, on the same email thread, just reminding them of this letter of interest. Like Tiffany said, just a few sentences to hopefully get them to review that letter and pull out your application again. It's okay to send one follow-up, but beyond that, you're really pushing the boundary of going a little bit too far.
All right, let's see what's up next. Okay, so switching gears just a little bit into interviews. And this is another email to our inbox. And they wrote, "Hi there. I applied for 51 pediatric programs, but I've only received 7 rejections so far with no invitations. I was wondering if it was a good sign or not to receive more rejections until today. I appreciate your help. Thanks." So it can be disappointing to get to this point in the season and have received only a handful of rejections and no interview invitations. That's understandable, that could be a little bit nerve-wracking. However, there is still plenty of time left to receive interview invitations. In this particular scenario that the user described, It's not necessarily problematic. It's not the end of the story. Keep waiting. We have heard from lots of IMGs last season who did not get their first interview invite until December and January and even into early February. And those people did end up matching. So don't take it as a bad sign at this point. Just continue to stay positive, and most importantly, work on preparing for your interviews. So when that invite does come, you are not caught off guard and you're ready to really nail it.
Yeah, and of course, like we've been saying, send out those letters of interest. If you've only applied to 51 programs, you can probably send letters of interest to 40% of those if possible.
Absolutely. All right, so let's check out our next post. And this is one coming in from Twitter, and it is also concerning interviews. So the tweet reads, halfway through all my interviews, I feel a sudden hit of regret and cringe at some of my answers. Also waves of terror at going possibly unmatched because of them. How do you make it to March? And someone else replied, I'm also feeling the same. And after every interview, I feel I could have given a better answer. But I think the whole process of interviewing is also like step exams. You learn a lot of things, not just answers, but many things while interacting with people. And the final response here is just hope I learn it fast enough to have a couple good ones under my belt. Good to know I'm not alone in this experience, and great advice. So I really liked this tweet. I thought it captured something that's a reality for probably everybody who's interviewing. And that's the feelings afterwards. Did I do a good enough job? Did I answer that question well? Did I impress them with my particular response? And it's normal to have these questions and even to have a little bit of doubt once the interview is ended. But I think the message here that is to learn a little bit from each experience is really, really important. Don't just allow the doubt to settle in and feel bad. If you truly did make a mistake or answer in a way you weren't pleased with, practice so that the next time you interview, you are able to answer that question in a way that you're happy with.
Yeah, and it's also so important to not be too hard on yourself. People that are part of the residency interview committees, they're not expecting perfection. They're trying to get to know you as a person and as an applicant. And so letting that genuine self and your excitement shine through is more important than having the perfect, well thought out and articulated answers. But having confidence in yourself and giving yourself that leeway to have natural and engaging answers is really going to help make your interview process more comfortable. And something else that I'd recommend is taking notes after each interview. If you felt that there were specific questions that you fumbled over, make sure that you record them and practice those types of questions more, and practice in the setting that you will be performing or giving the interview, which is virtually. So using interview prep services can be extremely helpful for that. But just reviewing your notes, and like I said, just don't be too hard on yourself. Everybody struggles to some degree to get that perfect interview, and it takes time. Sometimes it takes multiple interviews for some people to really get into that stage where they feel comfortable. But as long as you keep giving yourself encouragement and you keep practicing and you get more comfortable, you will feel more confident with the interviews that are coming up for you.
Yeah, and one of the ways that you can practice, as Zeph mentioned, is our interview prep service. And if you want to learn more about that, check out the videos on our YouTube channel. The interview prep series has got some tutorials on what the interview prep system is like and the different types of feedback that it offers. It's a really comprehensive and great tool to help you prepare. And you can also leave questions about that in the comments for us, or you can DM us if you want to learn more. So let's go ahead now and take a look at our next comment. And kind of going into a new topic here, and this one's coming from Reddit. So the Reddit user is asking, I've taken a leave of absence to study for my step, and I'm wondering, will they ask for why there was a leave of absence taken? What should I tell them if they do? So it is very possible that during your interview, the program director or someone else who you're talking with is going to ask you to explain the reason that you took a leave of absence. It's likely that you also offered an explanation about this on your ARIS application because there's a specific spot to talk about leave of absences, and you might have addressed it in your personal statement too, depending on what the circumstances were. So, in this case, the leave of absence was due to preparing and taking the STEP exams. Other people have more personal reasons or health-related issues. And what you should do, so to answer the question directly, you should tell the truth. Be straightforward about why you had that leave of absence. Discuss it concisely. You don't have to go on and on. You can just offer the reason and then answer any questions that the interviewer might have for you.
Right. And it's very common for IMGs to take time off to study for the STEP exam. So that's extremely common. It's not unheard of whatsoever. So it would be somewhat surprising if they felt a need to grill you about that further than what's already in your ARIS application. But if you do, like Tiffany said, just answer it very naturally and straightforward, and they should understand completely the very real reason and very common reason for that break.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at our next comments. And this one is on a back to the interview invite topic. So this is a tweet, and they tweeted, "I got my first interview invite yesterday. I waited so long for that moment. I was overly excited. I finally felt seen. Dear IMGs, you have come too far to give up now. In the end, remember you need just one program to believe in you. Keep it going, champ." So I really love this one. It's not a question. It's just a really positive reinforcement for everybody who is saying, should I be worried if I haven't received an interview invite yet? This post was literally just from 2 or 3 days ago, and this person got their first interview invite. So it does happen. Programs are still sending out invites. You should definitely stay positive.
Yes, and be proactive as well. Like we've been talking about throughout this entire conversation, you need to be preparing for those interviews. Get the interview through sending strong, well-crafted letters of interest. Make sure that you are completely practiced so that when that first interview comes, you're not scrambling for the door because you didn't practice this whole season because you didn't think you were going to get the interview to begin with. So like Tiffany said, stay positive, but also be proactive, and you're more likely to see the success that you were looking for.
Absolutely. All right, so let's check here on our next comments. And this is an email coming into our inbox, and it is asking about letters of recommendation. So switching gears a little bit, kind of away from interview season, and this one is really something that could be relevant for anyone who's watching and is going to be applying next cycle. So this person asked about the letter of recommendation. If I get myself a rotation and a doctor agrees to give me a letter of recommendation, how should that happen? Can the doctor give me a signed paper letter, or should a doctor upload it into the AAMC LOR author portal? I still do not have an ARIS account, and I'm wondering what would be the correct course of action. We'll be very thankful to you. So what's important to answer this question is understanding the difference between a waived letter of recommendation and an unwaived letter of recommendation. So when you choose to waive the letter of recommendation, that means that you don't see it before the writer uploads it into the system. And these are considered preferred because they tend to be a little bit more genuine. And if you, as the person being recommended, aren't playing a role in what's being written, then that is a more authentic letter of recommendation. So ideally, you would, in this situation, you would let your supervising physician know that you're going to be applying for the match next cycle, and you're going to be reaching out to ask them for a letter of recommendation, at which time they will need to upload into the ECFMG OASIS portal if you're an IMG. So it would be really smart to let them know that and ask them to go ahead and write the letter now and keep it on file so that when you reach out, email them this request to go ahead and upload into the OASIS portal, they have the letter already written. It's fresh in their mind after the experience, and they're not going to have to think back to several months ago when you were doing the rotation with them. There are other options. You can ask them to write the letter now and give you a copy, and then you would essentially have an unwaived letter of recommendation. However, as we mentioned, that's not the preferred method.
right? And it's not going to be something that they write out on a sheet of paper. It should be typed. It should have official institution letterhead on it,
Yeah.
as well as the date. Of course, it should be a very detailed and personalized letter of recommendation, and it should be including a handwritten signature. So typed up with a handwritten signature and then uploaded correctly.
Absolutely. All right. So let's take a look at our next comment here, and we're going to jump into another topic, our last topic before we're wrapping up. And this comment is asking actually about the OET Pathways ECFMG certification. So they wrote, I am done with step 1, step 2 CK, and the OET. Eligible for Pathway 1 to get certified. If I do get certified in the upcoming days, would I still be able to use it for the next match season? The current match season is 2021-22, right? So first and foremost, yes, currently we're in match season 21-22. Next cycle is 22-23. So if we're going by the book and we consult the ECFMG website, they are noting that any ECFMG certification received now will expire if you do not begin residency by December of 2022. So the by the books answer is that it doesn't really make sense to get certified now if you're not applying until next cycle, because you would not be starting residency until 2023. All that being said, last season, Zeph, we did see we saw a change, right?
Right. Yeah. So last year, basically what they did was everybody who got certified got a year extension on that certification. So it didn't actually expire. They got an extension through December of 2022. So whether or not they're going to provide an extension for the next cycle of applicants, we don't know. It's not something that you should depend on or that we can guarantee by any means. We'll have to see how the ECFMG starts treating this pathway situation, or what's going to come after the pathways, if there is something slightly more standardized. So what we can say is that there was an extension last year, but basically if you don't start residency in 2022, the ECFMG is currently saying that your certification will expire.
So it's kind of a do it at your own risk situation. If you wanted to go ahead and get certified right now and kind of hold out hope that the ECFMG is going to offer that extension once again, you can certainly do that. However, just keeping in mind that it is possible there will not be an extension and that you will end up going through the work of getting certified and then lose the certification before you can use it. So just so that you know all the different options and how everything could play out, and then you can make your decision.
Exactly.
So that is our last comment that we wanted to share. And we're going to jump back right over here. Okay. And I think that today's session, where we're talking about all the different comments and questions that we've seen regarding letters of interest and interviews, and then just some of these other questions that come up about letters of recommendation and ECFMG certification. These are all the different types of things that match applicants are currently thinking about, whether you're this cycle or next cycle. And it's really important, I think, to kind of bring together what we're seeing across the web on different platforms and talk about it and use these types of comments to help everybody so that everybody can learn from everybody else's questions.
Exactly. And of course, don't ever hesitate to leave questions of your own on any of our videos, or you can always email us at support@matcharesident.com. We'll be happy to address any of your questions. Who knows, it might even become a featured question for one of our upcoming videos, and will help hundreds, if not thousands, of other people just by asking that one question. So yeah, it's always important to make sure that you get clarification and get support when you need it. And we definitely hope everybody is crushing their interviews. And if you haven't gotten that first invitation yet, make sure you're sending your letters of interest. Even if you have interviews and you want to make sure you get a few more, send those letters of interest. Prepare for your interviews and come in comfortable and confident.
Absolutely. So, everybody, that's a wrap for us today. Thanks for tuning in and watching. If you want to see us do a video that covers a certain topic, you can always just reach out and let us know. As Steph said, if you have questions, don't ever hesitate to email or send us a DM either on Instagram or even YouTube or Facebook. So, we are looking forward to hearing from everybody, and we are wishing everyone a successful interview and rank season. And until next time, everybody take care.
Thanks, Tiffany. Take care.